If you're feeling run down, you should try Norwich one Sunday and take a ride in one of these old crocs. 54 ancient flivvers to shake up your livers and penny farthings to startle the cops.
There may be many good reasons to get on your bike, even if startling the cops isn't one of them. But even cycling's biggest supporters can see why many are deterred.
Zoe Conway with that report. Well, joining us now, Mark Ames, editor of iBike London, a safety campaigner, and Jonathan Cole, co-owner of the cycle shop Velorution. And gentlemen, thanks to you both for coming in this evening. I wonder if, Mark, you can explain what you think has happened. This terrible spate of accidents in the last week or so.
We've had a critical density of incidents over the past week or so, but actually they're not that unusual. Nearly all of the cycling fatalities in London involve particularly large vehicles and particularly dangerous junctions. This is a known thing, but unfortunately we don't seem to be doing anything about it.
So, for example, that Bow Junction, which has seen 3 cyclists killed in 2 years, are things changing there now or not?
No. Bow Junction is part of Cycle Superhighway 2. As you say, 3 people have died on that roundabout. 5 people have died on that route altogether in 2 years. So there's obviously a problem with the actual design of the road. And encouraging people to ride on some of London's busiest roads without actually creating safe space for cycling there, I think is actually irresponsible by Transport for London.
Right.
And they need to act.
And do you think, because we've had a sort of spate of politicians coming in with thoughts, is a cycling summit the answer? Is what Boris Johnson's now saying the right thing, or do you want to get the cyclists right away from the cars, or do you think there is a place for them?
Of course there's a place for sharing the road, and all road users in London should look out for each other. But on the very busiest roads with the most heavy traffic, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to look across the North Sea to the Netherlands, to Denmark, and learn from the best. They've been doing it successfully for years. They have children, they have old people riding. You know, it's all very, very safe.
And Jonathan, the density that Mark was talking about, I guess, is visible when you're selling stuff, right? I mean, do you see
We see a very big shift into what we call sit-up and beg bikes, where you can look around, you're not moving as fast, and you have more awareness. I think the Mayor's office is doing a fantastic job on the infrastructure in London, but it's never going to happen overnight. You know, one death is too many. Just
explain, the sit-up and beg bike,
Yeah.
you say makes cycling safer because your head isn't down.
You're not down, you're not powering on, there's not so much adrenaline flowing through the body.
And is that what you recommend people buy in London? Do you actually step into the conversation?
We absolutely. I mean, we really specialise in these boutique bike builders from around Europe that make 500 to 2,000 bikes a year out of love, and they like the bikes on the walls around here. I mean, the video you were showing of the 1930s, Pashley, which is a great English brand, they make bikes which. They just launched a new bike that looks like a bike from the 1930s, and people love it, and they're buying them in pretty good quantities from us.
And when people come in and they are buying, the racing bike, the fast bike, something that's lighter, does that worry you? Do you actually redirect them, or? I
think there's 2 types of cyclists. You have the guys who are in the sportives, they go out on the weekends, they go out with their friends and they do long rides. Then they're the people who are doing the commute to work. And there's riding a bike around London is fantastic. If you're in the centre of London, you can go through the parks, you can go down the canals, you can go from one part of London to another without even seeing any traffic because of the quiet routes. The problem comes, as Mark rightly says, is you get onto a big main road with an HGV vehicle beside you and a bus. It's scary. There's no doubt about it, and that has to be a separation.
Are you ever going to? I mean, you're not going to keep HGVs out of the middle of London. Can you see it? What?
I'd propose why not? If you look at Paris, our near neighbours, they have many more cyclists in their city centre than we have here in London. And yet in 2012 they had no cyclists killed, and that's because they have what's called a lorry control scheme. They make sure that heavy goods vehicles can't access the city centre at peak times, you know, when children are cycling to school. Here in the UK, in London, we have a nighttime ban, which means that all the lorries come roaring out of their goods yards kind of just in time for the morning rush hour. It's madness. It's something that, if you wanted to, the mayor could change tonight.
But do you think the tipping point has not yet come? We're not at a stage yet. Yes, car ownership may have gone down, but we're not at a stage yet where more people are naturally choosing to cycle.
Well, I think in London perhaps we have. You know, there are so many journeys on bicycles in central London now that if we were all to give up riding tomorrow, London's cyclists would fill 300 tube trains, over 6,000 double-decker buses. And if we all drove a car, we'd form a tailback 2,500 kilometres long. You know, bicycles are a treat for the City of London.
So
it's
what
about
you're saying
time.
is we should beg you to keep going.
Yeah, it's about time the city treated us.
Thank you both very much indeed.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming in. It's a week since the Philippines was hit by one of the largest